All right, everybody out there in YouTube land, I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Sunday Night Lions Talk Live, and you've got the Sarge coming on with us as normal. Here we got Tony Libretto going to join us, and we're going to break down a number of topics. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, just go ahead and fire it in the comment sections. Quick little thing, I'm sure you all have heard it. If you're new to Lions Talk Live, please consider subscribing. Also, don't be afraid to smash that thumbs up button. As you guys know, it helps us out tremendously. So, without further ado, let's get talking, Tone, about some rookies looking to make impacts this year. The first one we got is we're going to talk about Brian Branch. When CJ went down, at least momentarily for a day with that knee injury, it sounded like Branch's elevation into this meaningful playing time or potentially starting lineup might be accelerated. But what are you hearing out of camp about this guy? And CJ seems fine. How much playing time should we expect out of Branch?
I think they're going to create some special packages for him. They do want to get him on the field as much as possible, from what I've been reading and watching on the on YouTube and whatever. Right. But I saw one thing today. A lot of the pass rushing downs, they actually had CJ playing free safety with Kirby Joseph back there, and then having Branch come in as a nickel package guy. So maybe that's something that we look at or watch. Maybe the first preseason they'll try that, where they move. I guess that meant they took Walker out on obvious passing downs. I'm not 100% sure. That they didn't mention Walker's name in the article, but
right.
That'd be something definitely to look forward to see if dropping CJ back and moving Branch out to nickel. That could be something to look forward to. But once the season starts, they're definitely going to need to come up with some packages for him, get him on the field, because we got a pretty solid secondary, like we said last week. But we definitely need to rotate the guys in, especially the young guys, get them some playing time. We only have CJ for 1 year. Without looking up the future and seeing if we maybe sign him long term, Branch is probably going to be our CJ after this year. So right. Getting him the experience is definitely going to be important for the defense come the future.
So we've talked about Branch, we've talked about CJ, we've talked about a lot of the changes, especially to the defensive side of things. But real quickly, we're all there watching the draft happen this year, and I think it's fair to say the vast majority of NFL experts, media, whatever, really were caught off guard by the Lions trading down from 6, but then also at 12 snagging Gibbs. Here's my question to you. The NFL has changed over the last, say, 40, 50 years, especially in the last 10, where the running back position didn't seem like it was as meaningful as it once was. With that being said, is Gibbs now part of a transition into a new breed of NFL running back? We've seen Deebo Samuel, who was or is a wide receiver, play a lot of running back. We saw St. Brown his rookie year play some receiver and running back. And it seems like the Lions are now going towards using Gibbs as a receiver, running back, H-back, whatever it may be. What are your thoughts not only on Gibbs, but the future of the running back position in the NFL?
I think, running backs have always had shorter careers, technically speaking, among other players. And, I know there's a lot of running backs out there right now. They're all getting together, trying to figure out a way to make more money. I don't know. I mean, good luck, I guess. It's if you're positioned, that'd be like a bunch of punters getting together and saying we demand more money. Obviously running backs are worth a little more, but as far as Gibbs is concerned, I do think he's going to be more of that hybrid guy that doesn't have to take the rock and pound 3 yards forward and straight up the gut. They're still gonna have running backs that do that, but the stars, the guys that are going to get all the attention are going to be these hybrid backs, and we've seen it, like you said, with Deebo. And I mean, geez, San Francisco has Deebo and Christian McCaffrey. That's ridiculous to have that much power. I think like Henry is probably one of the last trending, it's going to be he's probably one of the last guys that can get all those yards and all those plays just running up the middle. Gibbs, they had a preseason, and I know they haven't played a game yet. They had a preseason, who's what for betting odds and who's the rookie of the year for offense, and he was rated like number 4, just under a couple of guys, quarterbacks, basically, rookie quarterback. So, I mean, the league thinks highly of him, or at least the league writers do. I can't wait to see him. Obviously his first week of practice, but they've had nothing but good things to say. Dr. Detroit says Gibbs has been dropping balls in practice. Yeah, well,
he's a rookie. And so
that doesn't translate anything. Maybe he's nervous, or maybe he's trying too hard to make some. Hopefully they're not just 8-yard out drops and they're like spectacular trying one-handed drops. Maybe right. I haven't seen that.
So let's talk about that. And I get we're all going to talk about the rookies. But now we talked about how the NFL wasn't a fan of the Lions taking Gibbs at 12. We did see in the newest episode of Inside the Den the Lions put out, which, by the way, if every team's going to run something similar to this, there's really no need, in my opinion, for Hard Knocks. This basically is Hard Knocks for every team in the league. If you haven't had an opportunity to check it out, go ahead and search Inside the Den for Detroit. I think they've got 3 episodes out so far. They're all about an hour or so in length. A lot of real good inside information. Being that as it may, if you go into this week's episode, you do see at pick 6 the Lions debating taking somebody. They state later it is Gibbs. They feel that what they're getting offered from Arizona, and as they play out the rest of the board leading to that 12th pick, they think there's a realistic chance that Gibbs would still be there, and looks like they're right. So heck of a move by the Lions to be able to still get the guy they want, plus additional draft capital.
Absolutely.
Going on to the next topic, though, we're going to go into Jack Campbell. Will he be the starting linebacker come week 1?
Yeah, I think he's taken it with him and Anzalone. I think Anzalone is a lock just because of the leadership out there. I think, Rodrigo was a big fairy tale come true kind of thing for a guy picked in the 6th round and got to start, got to play a lot last year. But I think Campbell's going to take that. Right now, he is taking first team reps. He's showing that he can play. He said he's learning a lot from Anzalone, and they're playing that two linebacker stack or whatnot that they're calling it. And a highlight is we didn't get to see it because Hard Knocks, they're not doing it this year, but they still make the rookies stand up and sing their songs in front of the team. And he's saying,
right.
He's saying "Country Boy Can't Survive" by Hank Williams Jr., which that made my day. I don't know if they have a video of it or not. I read that he sang it. So he's already okay in my book because he likes Hank. But as far as starting, I definitely think he's going to be on the field when that defense goes out for the first play against Kansas City.
Okay. From what we're hearing so far, and we'll see what happens. We still got, whatever it is, about 6 weeks until NFL kickoff game that, obviously Detroit's going to be a part of. But we do hear that Campbell basically is knocking the ball loose from people on catches. I know there was a play where they used Khalif Raymond at running back. He came out, caught it in the flats, and then apparently Campbell destroyed him, jarred the ball loose. He's knocked down some passes. And, really for a guy his size, 6'5", 250 something, I get he didn't have the greatest 40-yard dash scores, which is probably why he made it to 18 to Detroit. But, man, all of his other athletic test scores were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of real good linebacker play in Detroit in our lifetime and throughout the history of the franchise. To be fair, between that and special teams, Detroit's been all right. But be as it may, with just these raw skills that he seems to have in his size, if you were being cautiously optimistic, how good could this kid be?
I think they did the same thing for the top 10, think for Vegas odds on who's going to get defensive rookie of the year. And he was listed as one of the top 10 guys. I don't remember. I think he was like 7 maybe or 6.
Right.
There was a lot of defensive players taken in the first round. And, a lot of people, no one really talked about him. They all talked about these other guys. But all of a sudden, since he was taken in the first round by Detroit and he is an off-ball linebacker, but all of a sudden they're like, you know what, this guy's for real. They're already a week into into training camp and they're already, people in the league are already talking about this guy. So I don't know if defensive rookie of the year is in the cards. I don't know how off-ball linebacker probably gets that. Unless all of a sudden he's racking up like 150 tackles or something. But I think he's going to have a great season, barring any kind of setbacks like injuries or anything like that. But I think he's going to probably be 2 times. This might be bad to say, but I think he'll be 2 times better than Rodrigo was last year. And if he's even just a little better than Rodrigo, then we have pretty good linebacking core.
I would agree. Real quick, just want to get to something just so we get some engagement with the viewers here. Pat's got a question for us both. How many wins do you see the Lions getting?
You want me to go first?
Go for it.
I'll go with 12.
All right.
I think I think they're going to lose a game. I think I've said this before in the past, but I think they're going to lose a game to a team they should never lose to, and I think they're probably going to beat a team or two that they are probably going to be underdogs against, maybe even Kansas City week 1.
I'm going to go with, not just to undercut you or something, but I'm going to go with 11. Sure. I think we got a lot of real good parts. It's just, man, even though I think the division is down a little bit, I still think Green Bay's defense is damn good. I think they've got a lot of good other parts on offense. To me, it's just going to come down to how well can they game manage and put Love in positions where he's not asked to do too much. They can do that. Yeah. I think Green Bay is still a threat. Yes. Minnesota, they're aging. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback when he has great talent. I just don't know if he any longer has great talent, especially on the defensive side. Chicago, I think they made a lot of good improvements. My only thing is it seems like they spent so much money to improve the linebacker spot, and I just don't think they have enough to make linebackers stand out. So I'm still going to pick them last, but we'll save that for our NFC North preview show later on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the – wait, got to get back to the banners here. Hold on. All right, I was going to put who killed Kennedy, but Lions a familiar favorite to the team. Here's my question. Kennedy has talent. He's the type of personality that all the coaches like and want to be a part of this team. But what does it say that someone like him gets cut? Does it mean the team's really taking a step to another level?
I think it does. He played a lot of games for us actually over the last couple of years as a mid-season replacement for injuries or whatnot. I just think we're at the point now that we're going to probably end up cutting good players. Wide receiver being we have a deep wide receiver room. I'm not saying they're deep as in elite, but there's a lot of them, and there are a lot of playmakers out there which we haven't had in the past. A couple of years ago we were pulling receivers off the street just to throw him in for a game, and they did pick up the guy. They cut him and picked up Trey Quinn, I think is his name. I didn't do much research other than I know he was Mr. Irrelevant a couple years ago, but apparently he had a good season with the Michigan Panthers in the USFL. So we'll see. I don't know. I thought I had read somewhere that Kennedy was actually on like waived but injured or something. I don't know if that's the case, and I don't know if anyone else is going to pick him up. Maybe we put him back on the practice squad this year, but I think that says a lot for the Lions. And I think we're also going to see, we've got a lot of defensive ends right now. And if you count Houston as an edge rusher, not an end, but an edge rusher, I think you're going to see maybe like Romeo Okwara or Charles Harris getting cut because there's just not enough room for all these guys. Obviously Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a lock to stay in. They're not going to cut Pascal because he's a second-year player.
Right.
And there's just so many guys in the room that we're at the point now where we're going to probably release players that could probably start for other teams. So it's a good problem to have, But yeah, I think that's a omen for things to come, that, you know, no one is safe technically.
No, I think you're 100% right. And you guys in the chat, let us know your thoughts on this too, because here's my view. And you're right, Tone. It's not just the receiver room, but you look at the depth potentially if they sign Teddy Bridgewater. Look at quarterback, running back, receiver, offensive line. You could say we're 7 deep at the O line.
Yeah.
Just everywhere on the team, there's no longer this guy goes down at that skill set, we're done. And it's just, that's really a compliment to be given to the coaching staff and the front office, that they've been able to identify lots of talented players, get them in the draft, or a lot of free agent undrafted rookies. I mean, you look at this year's class. Every year that we've had this GM and front office there, we've had a few undrafted free agents make the team, and it's looking like that might potentially happen again with Gilmore or Taylor or a couple of the other players. But
yeah.
All right, so let's move on from that one, get to the next one. All right. I've been waiting for this one. So Martin, is he a superstar in the making? Because, we talked about on draft weekend, I guess you would say, when he was brought in, I think we both agreed this was a steal. This is a guy that might be raw, pad levels might not be great, hand placement might not be great, whatever it is, but just his athleticism, his personality traits, his motor, man, he's got everything he can't teach. And it sounds like more and more, if you watch the coaching staff when they talk about him, they're trying to hold back smiles, going, I think they realize they may have hit a home run here. But Tone, tell me. I mean, you're the legendary defensive tackle monster out of Otsego.
Right?
Do you see shadows of yourself in this kid?
Absolutely. I did see they're already changing his stances. They're teaching him they're teaching him a different stance. So when he comes off the ball, he's already lower than he was before. So I think they already figured that problem out, and they're working on it. I'm not saying they figured it out as in he's fixed it, but they figured out what to do to make him get in lower. Because he's 6'5", right? A defensive tackle that's 6'5". That's hard to get that big boy low. He's just such a beast. And like I said before, I read, Frank Ragnow and Jonah Jackson are both like, this guy is hard to move, and those guys have both been to the Pro Bowl. So I think that's a huge compliment to the rookie. Being that he's so big, he's probably not an every down guy yet, because he's, the game's going to be so fast for him coming off the beginning of the year. He's definitely going to probably have to rotate for a while. But yeah, I mean, superstar in the making. I would love to see it. He was a great pick in the 3rd round, like we talked about. I don't know. He's just so big and raw and strong. And I think, this year is going to be a great learning experience for him. And then going forward, he could be, he could be a defensive tackle for us for the next 5-6 years, maybe decade, if depending on, it's always about money. If he's good, is he going to cost a lot of money coming out of after his first 4 years? But we'll see. I mean, I'm excited to see that guy. I want to see him tear up some offensive line, or gobble up some double teams and let Aiden Hutchinson run free or whatnot.
Diversified Associates, I think your question here we're kind of hitting on right now. Martin, to me, I mean, you got lots of other guys out there that are going to be able to help out. We actually did get significantly better, in my opinion, stopping the run as the year went on, but the defense as a whole got better. So with that being said, here's my thoughts. Levi Onwuzurike, I think, man, if he makes the team, he's probably, you're looking at 7 to 12 plays a game, just very situational, fresh body. The other part is Martin. We talked about it after the draft. I really thought you go to about the halfway or the latter quarter of the season. That's where I thought, given this kid enough reps, teaching fundamentals, enough coaching, whatever you want to say, I really think he's got the potential to be a huge win for the Lions. And I don't mean that just because of his size, but I think he's got everything you and I and any coach can't teach. I think with his personality, he's going to help shut down that run. But Tone, just talking about the run here.
Yeah.
What do you think are 2 or 3 components the Lions will be able to do this year to really shut down other teams when they want to run on us?
They got to work on that. They rotating the defensive tackles is going to be key. Like I said, with Hutchinson and Pascal getting more, their second. This is Pascal's basically first training camp since he didn't get to do anything last year. I'm really high on that guy. I think he is going to be one of the biggest difference makers this year. You brought up Levi. Everything in training camp right now says he's doing great out there. I don't know if he's going full speed or not, but they're saying good things about him, that it looks like he's past his injuries and past, the back issues. He's a big dude too. So, if they can, and McNeil slimmed down, but he didn't lose any strength from what they're saying. So, getting him back out there, getting him, maybe, last year was supposed to be McNeil's breakout year. A lot of people around the league, a lot of the, sports shows that we watch, like Good Morning Football, they picked McNeil as one of the breakout guys last year, and it just didn't happen. But maybe it's this year. I don't think I saw someone mention maybe getting a free agent. I don't know if we need that right now, unless someone goes down and we need, to fill another spot. I think what we have now is the team that we're going forward with. Obviously I'd love to see Sue back, but would he be an upgrade over any of those guys other than his experience?
Right.
Because I think he's like 34 now. I could be wrong, but I think they just need to scheme better. They need a scheme to where the defensive tackles have help. Maybe when Anzalone and Campbell. Maybe I don't know much about Campbell's run stopping ability. I guess I haven't read a whole lot about that. Mostly I hear he's all over the place. So maybe he makes the difference at the linebacker spot. Plus, having CJ, Walker coming back. Maybe it's as simple as some of these guys that weren't around last year are back now, and maybe they'll help stop the run.
Well, you look at Don Burr, Answer 14, and other people in the chat. I think you're seeing a lot of people bring up some names here. So you think about, like you said, Ali McNeil. You think about Martin. You think about so many different people at the tackle, let alone the end spots. And then in situations, you can bring out some of those guys and bring in a Houston, bring in, I don't know, man. You've got so many people you can throw out there now.
Yeah.
Answer 14's got the point about, having the depth, the discipline, etc. And you look at just the defensive front potential, man, we haven't even mentioned Hutch, and you just got so many guys that can get after it. Yeah, and John Kaminsky, there's another one.
And what's the other? So many, I forget. There's we still have another guy that we brought, Bugs. Maybe you talk about Bugs.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned him. So I think, I used to think when Jerry Ball was a backup, and you're talking mid-early 90s.
Yeah.
How deep was that line? And he wasn't a backup forever, but he was for a while.
Yeah.
That I thought was some of the deepest play. Mike Kofer at times, coming off the edge, and other people. Gosh, what was his name? Pat Swelling, that we traded for. And I thought we were pretty deep then, but at least on paper, it sounded like this year's team could be better than the 2014 or 13 lineup, or even some of those early 90s teams. But
like Porsche and Scroggins on the edge.
Yeah, Tracy Scroggins. All right. Going to a question here. Since we talked about Kennedy no longer here, does this mean one or both of either Green or Mims make the team, as far as wide receivers? What are your thoughts?
I want Mims to be good, so he will be. No, just kidding. I don't know. I still don't know if they're both going to make it. It's tough. I mean, like I said, maybe both of them do until JMO comes back, and then there's a decision to be made. But that gives them 6 games, kind of a tryout period for until JMO comes back. I don't think they'll both be on the team by midseason.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for which one might be gone. And again, it could come down to other injuries too. Like in a perfect world, no one's going to get hurt throughout the year, but I imagine we're probably going to lose a receiver or somebody down the line. And I'm not trying to curse, knock on wood, but someone else might go down. And I don't know, Marvin Jones. Maybe he's the odd man out. Unfortunately, maybe these young guys just show up, and I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. That's the great about this depth that we're talking about is, it's kind of probably the first three positions for wide receiver are probably locked down, with Jamo and St. Brown and Marvin Jones. But the other two spots, Khalif Raymond is kind of like a Tom Kennedy for me. Like, we love him, but is he expendable? Maybe even Reynolds. Reynolds is great, but he's also kind of the same wide receiver as Mims, right? Or, because Reynolds is more of a deep threat guy. So it's tough to decide. And I don't know much about Green still. I still haven't read much about Green or seen any, camp videos about him. So I can't say for sure, if he's making a good stance, if he's showing up at practice every day. But it's going to be tough. Like I said, I think they're both on the team while Jamo serves his suspension. But after that, probably one of them's gone.
Right. And that's, I think, part of the problem is, I know a couple of them put it in the chat that Green, I think there's a real chance if you put him on the practice squad, he doesn't last more than, 48 hours. Somebody's going to take him.
Yeah.
Mims, I mean, the only thing I can say is if you cut him, we were able to get him for basically a pack of gum and a Mountain Dew.
Right.
There's just no investment required. It's kind of crazy. We're hearing hit or miss things on him. He's either great one day, making diving out of bounds, one-handed, catches while doing promotion videos or whatever it may be. I really like listening to him on the mic. He seems very mature. Green, on the other hand, he's got some speed. It's not elite speed, but he's fast. And, I think somebody had in the chat, the guy apparently has got great vertical, great range for ability to catch. So if it's up in the air and it's contested with one or two defenders, he's able to go up over those guys and get it more often than that. So good problems for the Lions to have. I mean, they're going to have to get rid of somebody, but that somebody can play. And that's different than years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Other topics now. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to throw it out to everybody in the chat, plus us. Tony, if you had to pick right now, who are you thinking will lead the team in sacks? Why do you think they'll lead the team in sacks? Pressure's on.
I mean, I'm probably going to go with what I think is the obvious choice, and that's Hutchinson. I think he's going to be lights out this year. I think he's doing a great job. It sounds like every time they interview him, he's stronger than he was last year. He's faster, if you can get faster, I guess, at this point. He's got more knowledge. He's even worked on a couple of more moves to get around, the offensive lineman. And I think he'll hit double-digit sacks. I think we could almost pull a Eagles this year. I think there's going to be at least two players on the team with double-digit sacks, maybe three, because Pascal's such a big fan. I'm a big fan of Pascal. Obviously, Houston is in the mix for that. But I'll say Hutch for sure will probably lead the team in sacks. He doesn't need to, because like we talked about before, he's more versatile than just the edge rusher. Yep. But I think he leads the team this year. Unless Houston is more, I still think right now they're going to use him as a situational guy, like pass rush only, which could give him a leg up for that, because he'll have fresh legs and he'll be after the quarterback. Basically, that's his job, is they point him towards the quarterback and say, go get him. So, but I think Pascal's going to have a good year too. I would love to see Pascal get like 8 sacks. I think that would be a great year for him. And we're still not even talking about Charles Harris. We're still not talking about Okora. It's so mind blowing of how how we can talk about, last year or even 2 years ago, we're like, well, I hope someone gets 6 sacks. But now I think this year we're going to get at least 2 guys with double digits.
I think that's going to be one of the things that will help this year's group of pass rushers is the secondary's improved. And we haven't even really talked about that other than Branch at the open. So that gives you another second for the blitzer to get there, or somebody to get there. And we saw tons of times last year where it seemed like somebody was just like a half step from getting home. And they might have that time to get there this year. If it's me, I'm still going to go with Hutch leading the team. But I think a lot of that's going to be there's going to be multiple people now getting after the quarterback. You saw Hutch's numbers, go up later in the year, in part, in my opinion, because Houston emerged at the same time.
Yeah.
You couldn't block them both in double team blocks, because if you do, well, you've got nobody else to block the other guys.
Right.
Hutch early in the year when you had a couple other guys, not Aquara, but what's his name? Coming back from injury this year, came back last year, 2 years ago, had like 8 sacks.
Harris,
there you go.
Yeah.
At the start of the year when Harris was out there, Hutch had his game against the Redskins. I got to believe in part because Harris gets that safety. You got to pull some coverage off to help block him. That freed him up a little bit more. But so anyways, I'm going to go with Hutch 1. Houston, I think he's going to have a pretty good season. It's just, can he be on the field enough to have a phenomenal season?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But all right, moving on to the next one now. All right. What type of stat line should we expect out of Goff this year? Is it possible that he sets another team record for best ratio between touchdowns and interceptions? I mean, what he did last year was phenomenal. If you didn't watch the video, go into the Lions Talk Live archive. After TJ Hockenson was traded, Goff threw one pick. I think before, I'm going off memory here, so don't hold it to me, but I want to say before he was traded, Goff had 6 picks. 4 of them came on passes to Hawk. So was there something with Hawk and Goff where they're just not on the same page? Does Hawk not come out of his breaks right? Whatever it may be, Goff exploded after that trade, and I don't think many people saw that happening. So can he repeat it this year? And Tone, what stats is he putting up?
I think he'll top 30 touchdowns this year. He was 29-9 last year. I think he's definitely going to get into the 30s. I think St. Brown's going to get more touchdowns this year. I think he only had 6 last year. I think he's going to get more. Having Laporta in the red zone is going to be great. If we do keep Mims, he's another super tall guy that can fight. Once JMO comes back, I think he's going to rack up some touchdowns. I think the interceptions, I think he'll stay under 10. I think he's learned to just be smart with the ball. He's got a lot of guys. He's not going to have to force it to one guy like he did with Hawk a lot last year, because the weapons are there. Like someone's going to be open with all these guys that are out there. And I think he'll be in the mid 30s for touchdowns. It'd be great if he hit 40, but that's a lot. We're going to be ahead a lot in the fourth quarter, and he's not going to have to throw the ball as much. That's part of the stats that, you're going to, some of the stats, he's not going to get 5,000 yards because I don't think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot in the fourth quarter. So mid 30s for touchdowns, under 10 for interceptions. Be great if I had to put a number on it, I would say 7 interceptions for the year.
Okay.
And he's still going to get 4,000 yards rushing, or I'm sorry, passing. Woo, Goff with 4,000 yards.
Crazy legs Goff.
Crazy legs Goff. Yeah, I like it. So he's going to be smart with the ball. He's not going to have to force it. There's so many stars on the offense with the playmakers that he's not going to have to focus on just throwing it to Hawk all the time.
Hindsight obviously makes everything look fairly clear. Brand Holmes was part of the group that traded up to get Goff. He was there with Goff his most successful seasons. Is where I'm sure we're all aware watching the NFL Top 100. Goff made it to whatever it was, 66 this week. Yeah. And that's saying something because he's, 6-7 years in the league. I don't think he gets enough credit for it. Half of his career, the peers he plays against in the NFL have voted him as one of the top 100 players.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I get. For whatever reason, he had a falling out in LA. I'm not going to get into that. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. But here's my question to you, Tone, and guys in the chat, feel free to jump on it. Have we been kind of misjudging this, that Brad Holmes has been developing this team along with Dan Campbell from the get-go to set up a run-heavy team that excels in play action? Exactly what Goff has his most success with.
Yeah, absolutely. When they brought Goff in for that first year, and they weren't good for that whole first year basically, and Goff struggled a lot. But I think it was they're setting a foundation for the future. This team had to get broke down to nothing because of what happened with the previous regime. I don't think those guys just knew what they were doing. I don't know what the heck was going on with those guys. But Holmes came in. He knew he had to rebuild from nothing, and he wanted a quarterback that he could build the whole offense around. I think that's why he made that trade. Got Goff in here. It was a guy he knew Goff's strengths and weaknesses. He knew that, Goff had the experience and the knowledge. And I mean, Goff played in a Super Bowl, right? So it couldn't have been, that experience. You can't overlook that. You can't teach that, right? The guy's got to learn. So that first year, yeah, he wasn't that great, but nobody on the team was. And he had no weapons. He had nobody to do anything with. A lot of injuries that year too. Last year, they came out the gate. The offense, even though they went 1-6 to start the year, the offense was clicking right away. They scored a lot of points, other than a couple of games. Like, I know New England, they didn't score a point. That was just probably really good coaching on the New England team's part. This year, this year and probably next year could be the window, or a window, for them to go deep into the playoffs. And it's just, I think all credit has to go to Brad Holmes and Coach Campbell as well. But they knew that it was going to take them a couple of years, and now the expectation's there, and Goff is leading the show. He's proven to be a great leader. Like, everyone on the team likes him. That you don't get that all the time on the offensive side, at least. I don't know. I'm sure the defense likes him too, but to be out there, to be liked by your teammates, to be a leader with on the offense, those are, again, things that you don't really get taught. You don't really get taught how to be a leader. You have to make the decision to be one.
I agree with you there 100%. And Goff, again, he may have had his struggles, but think about it. He's still only 27, 28. That's basically, we're still wearing diapers as far as most NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the defense really improves around him and he isn't forced to have to win it sometimes like he has, he can just be a game manager, do some drop backs on play action, and hit wide open players. So we'll see what shakes out. But going on to the next question here, and this would be one that I'd be interested to see people talk about here. And that's going to be just talking about St. Brown. Will he lead the league in catches, or what type of stats do you think he's got the potential to put up this year?
I don't know. There's so many playmakers to dish the ball out to. I don't know if he leads the league. I think he gets 100 catches. Excuse me. Leading the league in receptions, I don't know if that's gonna, maybe top 5. But I think with all the weapons on the team, we've got so many players that are going to be fighting for their stats or whatever. Goff is going to be able to spread the ball around. St. Brown is still going to be the guy when we need a third down and 8. It's going to go to St. Brown. That those things are probably too, like peanut butter and jelly right there. So I think he'll get over 1,000 yards still. I think he'll get 100 catches. I think his touchdowns are going to go up. but leading the league, nah, I don't. Maybe top 5.
I think we all agree, and you pointed out, Tone, there's only one ball to go around. They're going to pound it on the ground sometimes. They're going to throw it through the air a lot of times. And just you hear about Laporte, and I get he's a rookie, but he's still – you can't double team everybody. If Mims is just comparable, you just, above average while he's replacing J-Mo. St. Brown, Gibbs, Laporta, whoever's going to be on the other side. I mean, we'll see. And then the creativity that we have from the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on teams. And, St. Brown's going to get his. I'll say he's going to get somewhere between 60 and 80 catches. And, I get that's a bit of a range. But just because they're going to do so much dinking and dunking, linebackers are going to have to come up, assuming our running game is at all respectable, that, you're going to have a lot of dink and dunk passes behind the backers as they come up to fill the lanes. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Lions offense, it's just going to be a pain for most defenses to stop. St. Brown's going to win more than his fair share of potential matchups. And I don't see anybody doubling him very often.
Right.
You're leaving somebody else, a speedster, one-on-one. You better have some good corners. So, all right, let's now I want to open up and see if anybody has any questions in the chat. If not, fine, we'll just keep on going. But my question to you, Tone, we'll wait on some people to throw some questions out here. If you had to pick one or two players in the secondary that you're anticipating breakout seasons from, who would they be? And one other thought for you. Last year when we made our big run, we played like 90% man-to-man defense. Do you think Aaron Glenn stays with that, or do you think he's going to diversify things more?
So first part of the question is breakout. I think Kirby Joseph is going to take a huge step forward this year. I think he's going to be the leader in that secondary. Obviously we still have CJ back there too, but I think Kirby's going to take over the reins, and I think he's going to be a big leader in that secondary, and he's going to have a great year. I think he's going to have, hopefully I'd say he's going to get between 6 and 8 interceptions, which, was going to be really high. I think was 6 interceptions that led the league last year. I don't remember. I know CJ was one of them that led it, but I definitely think he's going to have a great year. Another guy that's kind of being overlooked right now is Jerry Jacobs, and it sounds like he's been having a pretty good camp so far as well. He's like him and Will Harris, I think, are the only corners that we held over that we kept from last year. And you're hearing a lot about – get down. Sorry, dog's going crazy.
Dogs do that.
We're hearing a lot about the undrafted guy.
Gilmore?
No, him too. Steve Gilmore, and then Sterling, Jackson the Fifth or whatever his name is.
Yep.
We're hearing some big things about those two guys too. So it'd be cool to see one of those guys maybe make the team. Again, it just depends on how many spots we have. But it sounds like Sutton is doing exactly what we expected him to do. So, I don't know about breakout season for him because he's been around for a while now, but I think the whole secondary, I think Tracy Walker might be the odd man out halfway through the year unless he goes back to his Pro Bowl form.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I just think, that safety position, man, it's deep.
Mm-hmm.
And no fault against Tracy Walker. I just, even before the injury, I just didn't think he had anything special about him. I think he's a good sound player. He just doesn't make plays. He doesn't do the things that the top 20% of safeties do, or top 10%. He's before the injury, he almost picked the pass. He almost got the fumble. He almost tipped the pass. I mean, he was always close. He just never got it done, and that's my issue with him. Is Kirby gets it done. CJ gets it done. Branch, I get, is the unknown, but from what we're hearing so far and what you saw of him in college, he got it done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to have depth, and maybe we just have that for a year or two. But, boy, oh, boy, Walker, he might be on the bench staring going, what happened to my spot?
Yeah, I think so.
So, all right, let's go with let me ask you this. We kind of talked about last week, but we didn't really have an opportunity to get deep into it. Gibbs, he's going to be, Mr. Everything, H-back, running back, wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they line him up as, if they go 3 tight ends as one of the tight ends, but the one furthest out from the line.
Mm-hmm.
What type of numbers do you think Lions fans should realistically expect from this guy come, the end of the season?
I'd like to see him with 500, 500, 500 rush yards, 500 receiving yards. I think that's a good foundation. I don't want to expect too much from him. I think, at the end of the season, he's probably going to have more receiving yards than rush yards.
Yep.
Same with touchdowns. He's probably going to have more receiving touchdowns because I think obviously getting close to the end zone, Montgomery's probably going to gobble up most of those carries in the rushing game. But I would like to see him get 1,000 total yards with splitting it 500, 500 or 400, 600, somewhere in that range. And, probably getting 5 or 6 touchdowns would be a pretty respectable first year. Because they're gonna, he's gonna be a great player, but it's still his rookie year. We still have so many other weapons that he's probably not gonna be. He's not gonna be a Christian McCaffrey yet.
Right. Not yet. With him, I'm inclined to think he's going to have more receiving yards, but is he going to be drastically different? Probably not. I just think they're going to be using him in so many different ways. I won't be surprised if at some point in the season we see him in the Wildcat, something like that. Just and then running some with Mims and J-Mo or whoever out wide, running some Wildcat, double reverses, triple reverses, whatever. Just some gadget plays that Ben Johnson seems to like to do anyways.
Yeah.
But man, that would be a complete pain for just about every defense to guard on an occasional basis. If you do it too much, I think it would lose its impact.
Right.
All right. One last question. I get we're butting up on 50 minutes here, so figure by the time this question's done, we'll be right around that time. The Lions so far in the top 100 have already had a number of guys, including one former player up there. Is there potential for another Lion or two to still make the top 50? If so, who do you think it'd be?
I think Penny Sewell is going to still be in there. I think they're going to put him somewhere. Other than that, I don't know. I kind of it'd be nice to see Frank Ragnow still get in the top 100. If there are 2 players, it'd probably be those 2. I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, based off last year, maybe CJ Gardner-Johnson still, because I mean he was a monster for Philadelphia. So I don't know if the players are going to vote him in or not as a top 100. But I think Sewell, I think for sure is going to be in there, and then maybe a CJ. And that's basically because all of this is based off basically what they did last year, more or less. I was disappointed that St. Brown was only 67. I thought he'd be, top 40, maybe top 30. It'd be interesting to see how many wide receivers are voted in over him. So maybe he holds that grudge like he did for the draft too.
Right. I think anybody watching this probably agree. Sewell's got a chance to be up there. Beyond that, it would have to be Ragnow, I think, at least. CJ, yeah. I'm actually surprised he wasn't on the list already. I mean, I don't know if I put him top 50 or 40 or whatever, but maybe. I mean, to be fair, I only watched a couple of their games, so I'm probably not the best judge, but I do think there's potential for 1 or 2 more Lions to get up there, especially with the amount of press that this team has received. So, final question. With that, the kind of press being the lead in, if you're Dan Campbell, if you're Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Brad Holmes, whoever it may be in that front office, what are you doing to help keep this team focused and not listening to the hype machine that is the NFL and media?
They gotta get the players to buy into the aspect that they still have to work hard every day. Nothing's you can't take anything for granted in the league. And someone goes down, that could change the whole scheme of the season. I mean, it depends on who it is mostly,
Right.
but they have to instill in them every day in practice and every preseason game that they have to stay focused. They can't rest on their laurels, so to speak. They need to bear down and treat every practice like it's the first game of the season. They can't slack off in practice. They have to keep the same mentality that they had last season, last training camp last year. They worked hard, because we obviously we could see it all on Hard Knocks,
Right.
but they didn't let up in practice. Aaron Glenn and Deuce Staley last year would get after each other after every single play. I don't know if the new guy's doing that or not with Aaron Glenn, but I have to imagine they probably are. They're probably yelling at each other and talking a lot of smack, and the intensity has to stay at the highest level it can possibly be in practice.
It was fun to watch that happen on Hard Knocks. And I mentioned it earlier for those who just joined in. If you haven't watched Inside the Den, you don't really need Hard Knocks. Just go look that up. It's something the Lions put out. So I do say this you got to take it a little bit with a grain of salt, because they are doing it to promote themselves, make themselves look good, etc. But if you want the Lions to be on there this year, Hard Knocks, this is the next best thing. As far as keeping the team in line, keeping everybody focused, here's what I would say. Everybody's aware of this team, the way they finished last year. The NBC after the Green Bay game talking about us for about a half hour straight. So whatever it is, it seems like a credit to the front office. The players they've drafted are very similar to the same personality types that the coaches have. They are all basically alpha personalities, and a lot of them that felt like they were left behind or overshadowed, or, like anybody who listens to St. Brown's story gets it. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Goff's got a chip on his shoulder. Martin's got a chip on his shoulder. There's just a lot of those people on this team that are driven to prove everybody was wrong about them. And that's why I think is one of the reasons I've got some real good faith when we go into Kansas City. We've got a chance to win. I'm still going to pick us to win by 10. I'm going to go 41-31 over Kansas City. I get a lot of grief about it, but I do think our ability to get after the quarterback is going to be one of the biggest differences there. I think Aaron Glenn's got a lot of time to get ready for this team, and I think he's going to catch them off guard with just enough to get the Lions win. Tone, you got the final word here. What do you think the Lions are going to do in Kansas City?
I think they're going to win. I don't know if it's going to be by 10, but I think they're going to, Mahomes is going to try and bring the Chiefs back in the fourth quarter, and Hutchinson and Houston are going to chase them down and take them out.
Okay. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Hit that thumbs up button. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Tone, I want to thank you for coming in and giving us your wisdom again. And we will see you all next Sunday on the next Lions Talk Live broadcast. See you this week with any news stories we do put out. Take care. Enjoy your weekend.